Hi, I'm Corey, and I have too many episodes of Gerbert. Welcome back, friends, to the tiki bar of less terror than last time. Unless you count the existential kind, and then it's plenty terrifying. I like being here more. The tapes cause a great deal of psychic damage, so it's nice to be in a peaceful place where the vibes are chill and the rum flows like, well, rum, I guess. It's been a wild year, and as we wind it down, I want to get back to basics. Strip all the trappings away, all the fancy camera work and design, and sit comfortably in this impenetrable place of joy with a simple, relaxing tape and a fun novelty cocktail. Except, I have to work tomorrow and I shoot these pretty late, so no dice on the ladder. I can stare at the mugs, though. Ooh, pretty. That being said, I was planning to relax before this beauty came into my life. And, much like tiki, which often feels like scratching some weirdly problematic cross-cultural anthropological itch, a simple VHS tape has, once more, sent me through the dark, distressing past of one of Christian Kids Entertainment's most beloved, hated, and remembered stars. Gerbert. Good old Gerbert. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I'm fond of the little tangerine. He's grown on me over the years. And maybe some of that is because of Andy Holmes. I like the guy. He seems like a decent person who's trying to make his weird, earnest puppet art, and, you know, I respect that. Nice work if you can get it. But the Gerbert we know and love/hate/love wasn't always as distinctive as he is today. This trademarked, probably, patented, improbably, distinctive, there we go, little nugget didn't always have his oblong, melon-like physique. Yes, before Gerbert was truly Gerbert, he looked like, well, an oven mitt. Now, this isn't the true origin of Gerbert. If you want to see that, get a time machine, head to Texas, and check out Andy Holmes' youth services in the mid to late 70s after Jim Henson did an Inception-style put pocket into the psyche of every youth pastor in the country. But after about a decade of success with Gerbert, where he, I guess, delighted people with his creaky orange antics, it was time for Andy to get into the next big youth ministry craze, children's television. So he partnered with Home Sweet Home Educational Media and finally brought his whiny little Muppet with a heart of gold to the small screen. This tape promises a lot. It has 6 music videos, including one for the hearing impaired, and the back of the box boasts a colorful, nostalgic set and a lively script that creates an excellent environment encouraging imaginative play. It also features a special guest appearance by, Courtney? Courtney appears to be just some random toddler who managed to get shared billing on the Gerbert pilot. She must have a great agent. This time on Too Many Tapes, I bring you the genesis of Gerbert, the pilot episode that launched its rocket ship of virality straight into the furthest recesses of pop culture infamy. I bring you Gerbert in the world around us. The tape starts like a fairly normal Gerbert episode down to the theme song, except that's not the Gerbert I know and love. He's simpler, less viscerally upsetting to look at, friendlier even. It makes the madcap antics of the opening feel buoyant, like I'm gonna have fun this time. Friendship ended with Gerbert. Now, Gerbert is my best friend. Our first real taste of Proto-Gerbert is in one of his signature framing devices. In this case, quite literally. Gerbert is playing as some kind of construction foreman here, with Rory as an unseen assistant. He wanders in and out of frame for what feels like an eternity and finally spots us.
Oh, hey! Hey, how y'all doing? I guess you're wondering what I'm doing here, huh? Well, I'm gonna show you. Come on, let's go, look.
There's a loose, improvisational quality to Holmes' portrayal of Gerbert. For a character that sounds so strained and pained all of the time, it genuinely feels like Andy Holmes is extremely comfortable here. Gerbert sets up the entire episode as an exercise in pretend as we fade in on Gerbert's room. This brings a pretty shocking question to mind. Is the void where Gerbert truly lives? Is the whole Americana bedroom, 2-story house, white picket fence stuff real? Or is his actual home this unspeakable limbo between reality and fiction, between life and death, between somethingness and nothingness? If so, even unknowable creatures of the void need babysitters, as we find out in this opening scene. Much like the cliched opening to every high school student's first foray into fiction, it's a dark and stormy night. And Gerbert directly addresses us, the viewer, as he beckons us, and by extension the camera, closer and closer. Gerbert introduces us to Nelson, his babysitter, a strangely out-of-place adult man with a mustache played by the series' production designer Nelson Coates. When you've got exactly $30 to make the pilot happen, sometimes you cast out of the pool of people you know, I guess. Nelson would later go on to be a pretty well-regarded production designer on film and TV. Auspicious beginnings. I've never known why they were so reluctant to show Gerbert's parents. Just make them normal. Gerbert is a normal kid with an active imagination. Treat him like a normal kid. Maybe he's adopted. His mom and dad don't have to be bright orange if you don't want them to. That being said, I like the idea of Gerbert's parents being walk-around Muppets hanging out in Texas somewhere. Just trying to raise a weird kid and still have a date night every once in a while. Make that show, Andy. Actually, don't. I call that one. Putting my chips on that one. Gerbert talks a big game about how he's big, strong, brave, and doesn't need a babysitter. You know, like a kid. Cue the giant crack of thunder, a brief, poorly orchestrated power outage, and the sheer panic and terror that comes when a child is confronted by sudden, overwhelming darkness.
Hello there, big fella.
Oh, hi, Nelson. Well, I guess I'm not so big and strong and brave after all, huh?
Nelson is the worst kind of babysitter and the worst kind of grown-up around kids. It's that awful middle ground between talking down to kids and humoring them. It's almost like he's talking to a dog. Everything he says has a falling, shushing quality to it. And maybe that's part of the charm of Gerbert himself, the secret weapon Andy Holmes has that lots of these shows don't. Gerbert is oddly realistic for how unrealistic he is. He, as a character, is a fairly good representation of the unsolvable, omnipresent pain of childhood. Kids think they're independent, but they're not. They believe in themselves, but they're so frequently met with unbeatable obstacles. They're brave, but they're scared, too. They're so ready to be big, but so dang little. And Gerbert is all of those things. He isn't an ideal or a nightmare. He's just a kid. Maybe a slightly annoying kid, but given my history, I have absolutely no right to judge. Nelson comforts Gerbert with the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. As this begins to cheer Gerbert up, Nelson does a really wild little head turn to cover the fact that we can't see Gerbert move from various positions in the room.
Did they get burned, or did God take care of them? Hey, where are you going? What's the deal with the fire truck?
Well, God rescued them from the fire.
Gerbert, now sitting on a fire truck, wonders about Courtney. So now, instead of hanging out with our cool pal Gerbs, we have to check out whatever it is Courtney and her family are up to.
Daddy, I'm scared.
Here, Courtney, take my hand. There. See, everything's fine. You're gonna be okay now.
Courtney's voice is haunting. Maybe it's the reverb. Maybe it's because it's so low in the mix. Maybe it's because none of them are actually talking, and it's just a track from an already made album they had ready when they were shooting the Gerbert pilot and needed some cross-promotional filler. Also, they have a giant fiberglass dog in their house, which is a confident interior design choice that I wish I had the courage to pull off. We video toaster out into a frankly bizarre still image montage music video rendition of He's Got the Whole World in His Hands. Before they do that though, the dad keeps mentioning that God's hands are soft, which is, I don't know, it's just such an uncomfortably intimate detail. Does God moisturize? Anyway, this music video is extremely low effort. The fact that we're getting filler content this early in the video doesn't bode well for what's to come. The montage is giving the end of Living with the Land. Is that too niche of a pull? If this were a Disney World channel, that joke would kill. Not to get too woke on Maine, but the framing of all of this is very white American Christian. Most of the images are of Courtney's family, sure, but anybody who isn't white is definitely framed as an over there kind of person, right? Not a lot of shots of non-white people and the sun-dappled love of American Jesus over here. Not saying it's racist, just saying it's not the best look. Back to the bedroom, and Nelson drops a terrifying piece of Gerbert lore that only adds to my questions about what precisely he is.
Hey, well, I can't smell anything.
You don't have a nose, Gerbert.
Oh.
You can't smell anything if you don't have a nose.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Well, I forgot.
So is Gerbert canonically a Muppet or Muppet adjacent? They make it abundantly clear that Gerb is just different, but they never expound on it. They drop the bomb and walk away, and I'm left here with so many questions. Gerbert recounts a time he went to the doctor's office and how he was scared until he remembered that verse from the Bible about not being afraid because God is with him. Nelson admits that even grown-ups feel scared sometimes, and for a sweet, blessed moment, I'm back into the reality I've constructed for myself where I can appreciate the oddly comforting emotional maturity of this show. Sure, it's scattershot. Sure, we have to spend way too much time with Courtney, but fundamentally, Gerbert as a show is providing more positive life lessons than its closest counterparts of the time. It's less harmful than it could be, which is a low bar, sure, but the show clears it easily. Gerbert opens up a big scrapbook, the place where you keep mementos from all your doctor visits, and we're whisked away to a song that we've already covered on this channel, The Doctor. Being a much cheaper and more basic pilot episode, the production here is not all that impressive. We spend a ridiculous amount of time watching Gerbert jam out to the MIDI music. If you've watched any of my content, you know what's coming. You 100% can call what I'm about to talk about. The choreography, good lord! The kid choir here is especially bad. The boy in the front center is totally checked out. He's bothering the girl next to him. She's trying her best to stay on task. It's video, guys. You can do more than one take. Or maybe that was the best take they had. A truly nightmarish possibility. That day of filming must have been hell. We flesh out this weird white void with still shots of Gerbert in a doctor's office. It's so obvious they spent the entirety of their budget on Gerbert's room. They have no money for any other complete-looking sets, and can't afford to bring the cameras on location, so we get these little photo essays inside of the music videos instead. It proceeds much like the later and better version in Courageous Conqueror, but with a hilarious lack of polish. You even see the edge of Andy's arm as he's puppeteering Gerbert. Maybe that's part of the charm here, though. It's fun to imagine the continuing adventures of Gerbert if they just went with this route. No outside financing, no help. Just make these things as strangely and cheaply as humanly possible. The song ends, and we fade up on Gerbert directly addressing the audience while he performs amateur medicine on his now mummified babysitter.
Ba-boom, ba-boom, baby, I can hear your heart just a-pounding. Ba-boom, ba-boom. Well, Hey, how many of you guys guessed what I was pretending to be?
This conceit runs into the same trouble the Sesame Street folks ran into with Snuffleupagus, where it may be a little bit harmful to have adult characters not believe Gerbert when he sees a thing and talks to them about it. That being said, there's a nimbleness to it here, like we're in on the joke with Gerbert, so it almost pulls it off.
Who are you talking to? I don't see anybody.
Well, quick, everybody, duck! Not that kind of duck, silly.
I don't see anybody out there at all. All I see is a lot of sofas and coffee tables and lamps. Gerbert, I think you're pretending again.
The show is stupid, but I love it dearly. Question, though. Why are Nelson's pants covered with paint? Is it because he's the production designer, or did Gerbert decide that painting a 35-year-old guy's chinos sounded like his idea of a fun time? Our next segment is all about my favorite television station, GTV. Gerbert does a Ted Koppel impression, a thing that all toddlers can identify and appreciate, but there's no content for it. It's nothing more than an excuse to put the Gerbert puppet in a suit and a wig. That being said, it's kind of adorable, so I'll give them a pass. Next, we get the superhero origin story we've all been waiting for. The first appearance of everybody's second favorite towel-wielding hero after Arthur Dent, assumedly. Captain Towel! Even in this earliest form, we have the towel, the goggles, and the barely coherent rhyming couplets. It's all there! Captain Towel leaps into the sky and chats with us about birds, which for some reason serves as an excuse for a biblical reference that's almost as sweaty as Captain Towel's rhymes.
Oh, God takes care of birds, don't you know? Just like he did with Shadrach, Meshach, and away we go!
Captain Towel plummets out of the sky, crashes through the ceiling, and into a classroom where a bunch of children are quietly sitting in a neatly arranged grouping that is perfect for a low-effort music video. This is the fabled special music video for the hearing impaired entitled Tell Me the Stories of Jesus. It's something, but it also doesn't function as a thing that can be totally appreciated by people who have hearing impairments. The cutting is fast, there are too many close-ups on faces and not enough medium and wide shots on hands, and the kids aren't really in sync most of the time. To make matters worse, the actual stories of Jesus they're trying to tell are mostly told through unsigned voiceover, while we show crayon-colored drawings of what they're trying to describe.
One night, Jesus got in the water, and his disciples were in the boat.
Yeah?
And it was real dark.
Oh.
And they saw Jesus walking on the water.
Wow.
They were scared. And
I think this is Courtney again. I don't get the appeal. I'm not trying to be mean or anything, I don't get it. It even sounds like Gerbert is humoring her. Courtney rambles through all of these Jesus stories while Gerbert basically just nods his head and politely goes, uh-huh, which is about all I'm willing to give this almost 5-minute long segment. Let's move on. We break into the next segment as what appears to be a look behind the scenes of a show. A crew winches Gerbert's bed into the rafters, and a makeup person applies powder to a dude in a shiny jacket as a bunch of hep cats prepare for some kind of performance. A megaphone-wielding director, who appears to be no more than 7, commands these grown men to attention. Gerbert appears to be hosting this musical doo-wop performance. Again, Andy Holmes is on the absolute cutting edge of what kids in the late 80s were into. Doo-wop, Americana, poorly implemented American Sign Language. He was truly a visionary. The doo-wop number plays out in a frame rate that makes you feel like you're trying to play Cyberpunk 2077 on a Chromebook made during the Obama administration. As songs go, it's unexceptional. It's a message of peace, love, joy, and patience, basic stuff, telling kids to be kind and treat others the way they want to be treated. No issues with the content really, just the execution. The fabric of reality in any given episode of Gerbert is gossamer thin. What is the hook here? Why is Gerbert at a lemonade stand indoors? Is this part of the framing device of the show, or is this actually happening? Where is Nelson? Why does the doo-wop guy on the end look like Reggie Bannister from Phantasm? How is Gerbert making a profit on his lemonade stand if he's only charging 5 cents a glass? What is going on here? Now we're back with Captain Towel, where he bids us a lengthy, tearful, overblown farewell, where he either calls his devoted fan base towelettes, or a racial slur I don't feel comfortable playing the clip for. Nelson, Gerbert, and Rory go out to the porch, which is where most of the last portion of this episode happens. Nelson is amazed at Gerbert's acting talent, because he thought Gerbert was actually having a tearful breakdown as Captain Towel.
Acting.
Gerbert insists he's not a crybaby, which seems both inaccurate and par for the course for a kid's show from the 80s. And then, unexpectedly, something kind of remarkable happens.
Well, I was just thinking that everybody I know who's big and strong cries sometimes. And so, if you're big and brave and strong, I figured you probably cried sometimes too.
You mean, just because somebody cries, it doesn't make them a crybaby?
That's right, Gerbert. A crybaby is someone who moans and pouts because they're mad when they don't get their own way.
Yeah.
Just because you cry doesn't make you a crybaby. A lot of people I know cry when they're sad or hurt, and they're not crybabies.
Yeah.
You know, Jesus cried sometimes himself.
He did?
Yeah, and he was the bravest man who ever lived.
Maybe I was just raised in the wrong kind of churches, but this kind of sensitive rejection of the toxic masculine obsession with bottling up your emotions feels refreshing today, but honestly revolutionary for 1987. Sure, the justification for it is wrapped in the Bible, but any piece of media that lets kids know it's okay to have feelings is at least doing something right. It's one of the reasons I can't fully mock Gerbert. There's a genuine intent there that's laudable, even if every aesthetic decision the show makes feels like it was designed in a lab to irritate me. Nelson beckons some neighborhood kids to gather on the porch for a song. This is, of course, just a regular part of one's babysitting duties. We've all been there. Microwave their dinner, let them watch Cars 2 3 times in a row, keep them off the iPad, beckon the neighborhood children to the porch for a sing-along about the Lord, and bedtime at 8:30. Normal stuff. This number about all of the natural wonders God has made is a real snooze, but the seemingly random distribution of lackadaisical close-ups of bored, unmotivated kids is giving me a little bit of life. Even they are bored by this song. Cut it. Make the 35-minute episode a 30-minute episode. Boom! Problem solved, and you wouldn't have to build an extra set or anything. It's bedtime now, and we're back in Gerbert's room. Nelson reads Gerbert less of a bedtime story and more of a single Bible verse about sleep.
In peace, I will lie down and sleep, for God keeps me safe.
I like that.
This leads to the final song of the show, Gerbert's Goodnight Prayer. It's another slow and appropriately sleepy number, but it really shows the range of Andy Holmes as a vocal performer and a puppeteer. He's preternaturally good at that intersection of gentle, tender, and sad, and he brings a lot of pathos to the song. It's a good technical performance.
Tonight while I lay fast asleep, you'll be right inside of me.
I hear you snickering. Quit
and
it.
everything, yes, everything will be
Nelson tucks Gerbert in, and in a last act of total bafflement, Gerbert wishes us a good night, which somehow allows Nelson to see us.
Good night, everybody.
Gerbert, I still don't know who... Oh, there you are. Good night. We'll see you later.
Was that a wink? Hold up, chill out, Nelson. The lights go down, the credits roll, we learn that Nasal did not appear, which I guess is another joke about how Gerbert doesn't have a nose. Also, Chili's Inc. gets an enormous shout out. Not sure if Chili's pitched in money to create Gerbert, or if they were simply the catering of choice for the production, but the size of their name in the credits heavily implies that they contributed at least $50 a month to my Patreon. We're rewarded for our patience with a final button that bookends the framing device. Gerbert tells us that he likes pretending with us, and we get the first instance of Gerbert's immortal catchphrase.
See you later, alligator.
It just feels right. Over the next few years, Holmes made tweaks and changes to the format, ditched Courtney, took money from CBN, who yanked a lot of creative control out of Andy's hands, unfortunately, and turned Gerbert into a media sensation. Even with more money, it always felt scrappy, strange, and barely coherent. That was its charm. Looking at the origins of this little orange gourd confirms that, too. Polish and money couldn't kill the beautiful strangeness of the wholesomely bizarre heart of Gerbert, and there's something positively admirable about that. Thank you all for watching Too Many Tapes. Please like this video, subscribe to my channel, and hit the bell icon to get updates for when I upload videos. If you want to help out a small YouTube channel, consider donating $1 or more a month to my Patreon. For just $2 a month, you get early access to my videos, and every penny you send me goes to help buy tapes and equipment to make this show get a little bit better every single month. If you donate $50 or more a month, like Cammy, you get a movie recommendation. I'm thinking weird, wholesome charmers this month. Anyone who knows me knows that I'm tired of Taika Waititi almost as much as he's seemingly tired of himself, but before he went over the cliff of inconsistency, he made one of his most triumphantly sensitive films in Hunt for the Wilder People, starring Sam Neill and Julian Dennison as an unlikely family unit on the run from the law. It's filled with unexpectedly tender performances and a delicate screenplay that manages to do a lot of emotional heavy lifting without being cloying or maudlin. And for Natto Kitsch, I'm going to recommend Theater Camp, a Christopher Guest-tinged mockumentary about a failing theater summer camp that somehow manages to solve my eternal quandary of how to compassionately handle comedies about delusional but lovable people. For $10 or more a month, I welcome you to a voyage of discovery and awareness of the richness, the diversity, and the often surprising nature of living with the land. And your names get to be pretty big in the credits. And for $5 a month, you're inducted into the unofficial Gerbert fan club, even if you're not a fan. Sorry about that. As an apology, you get early access to my videos. Thank you all again for watching, and I'll see you next time on Too Many Tapes. Ooh, baby, you make me smile. Be-bop-a-lee-la-loo, wow. Oh my God, there's so much dust on you. Oh my God, there's so much dust on you. I should dust you more.